Exotic weaponry. Always a battle to see what has risen to the top of the food chain. We're a week into Season of the Deep, and while the meta hasn't drastically changed, some exotic weapons have gained some traction since launch due to some adjustments. Now, not all of them are completely meta-defining or breaking, but some have gained substantial power. You've probably been hearing here and there of some sleepers coming out of slumber, so let's look at what you should try out this season. Being around since the beginning of the game, Graviton Lance got adjusted quite a bit recently. It's never been terrible, but was also outshined quite a bit by more recent weapons, not having been a defining meta weapon since Warmind back in 2018. Its main problem was always its heavily backloaded damage, and while a cool concept, missing or flinching out of the second shot was heavily punishing. Trying to come back from missing was difficult due to its slower rate of fire. But now, its damage has been significantly adjusted to even the 2 shots out more to make missing much more forgiving, and its rate of fire also increased to make it much faster. This thing has become very good, being able to do a quick 3 burst for a kill. Might as well be a semi-automatic laser, plus its explosions and mini orbs are still very potent, but even more so now due to its faster time to kill. You can easily secure 2 kills if 2 enemies are right next to each other. Missing a shot is indeed more forgiving, but will still mess you up since that second shot does still do a bit more damage. Definitely look out for this beast this season because it will literally do your taxes for you. On a side note, apparently it is doing less damage in PvE right now, so look out for that if you are using it there. The old speedrun sword finally got some love after so long. Worldline Zero, historically not the best for damage, did get its special heavy attack damage buffed, and became able to chain its heavy attack once after use. The sprinting heavy attack, not your basic uppercut, with its special heavy attack only costing 50% for 2 full uses. It's definitely fun to mess around with, and since Arc is in the spotlight right now, there is some fun build potential with ionic traces and jolting. I was very surprised actually by how good chaining the heavy attack on a single target was. Big damage, but you may want to equip a loosened blade or 2 on your chest piece to get that energy back up much quicker so you can get back into the fray. Its radius is much bigger than you would think, so using temporal sprint on a group of enemies is actually quite potent. And chaining a second attack will reach a target further than you'd expect. Definitely good for burst damage, but Lament will probably still trump this for sustained damage. And with machine guns still as good as they are, Worldline may not be the most popular, but it's definitely improved a lot, so give it a go because it is actually pretty fun. The first raid exotic of the game, Legend of Acrius, got yet more buffs to hopefully get it on par with some more heavy damage dealers. It's got plenty of buffs in the past, but still was outshined by other newer weapons like rockets, linears, swords like Lament. While damage was not increased this time, these buffs were some things the gun very much needed. Its ammo reserves got increased, and its max projectile distance was also increased, something that it really needed to ensure the shot did not disappear into the void. This reserves increase now puts it on par with other shotgun reserves and has increased its uptime when doing damage on something like a boss. It isn't a massive meta-shifting change, but yeah, it's definitely pushed it into the spotlight and helped it hit like a truck for longer. It's also become a very good damage option for Ekthar in the new Ghost of the Deep dungeon, since it's a close range fight. Definitely a recommendation for close quarters combat, and being on Arc will probably help it due to its mega slow reload and horrible handling speed. Chuck on some Arc mods to make it hit harder and become way more snappy. Use Spark of Frequency for fast reloads on melees, working synergistically with Trench Barrel, or just become amplified. Using the newly reworked no backup plans will also make this monster hit even harder too. So there you go Titans, another option. So again, try this thing out, it's awesome and will feel like that one meme where Big Bird from Sesame Street kicks down your door. Scorching is fun, but when it's just to yourself, not so fun. So, what if you could burn everything else you shoot as well? That's what Tommy's Matchbook can now do in its overheated state, with extra burny burn with Ember of Ashes equipped. Since it scorches every 5 shots, this will allow it to ignite enemies. And by enemies, I mean everything but trash red bars in literally all content. Actium War Rig should allow for even more ignitions with how little reloading you need to do. This is a good buff, since becoming overheated felt more like a detriment than anything, because without a constant source of healing, you were more likely to be your own end. It's cool that you can ignite enemies like bosses and champs, but most people may prefer a non-self-damaging option still. However, I was honestly surprised by how fun this was, and firing does let you recover health much faster than I thought, to keep you alive. So rifts or restoration aren't mandatory, but still nice. Enhancing your scorch and ignitions with fragments will make this even more potent, and again, Actium War Rig Titans will have a field day in this overheated state. So go try this out for plenty of explosions. One of the worst weapons in Destiny history, literally only used to get out of bounds, Salvation's Grip. The definition of a useless exotic, until just recently when it got a huge makeover, actually making it viable, I think. Its charged shot will now fire a much larger pattern of stasis crystals, and having the hipfire charge meter is a very nice UI change. The pattern is quite sizable and does well to freeze a good amount of targets, plus it now has a normal uncharged shot that will deal more damage to crystals and frozen targets. Its second perk also changed and now reloads from reserves when rapidly shattering 3 or more crystals with the uncharged shot. I only briefly used this, but enjoyed it way more than, obviously, before the buff. I wasn't even on stasis to make this thing even better, and it was still doing pretty well against groups of enemies. Plus, it was really fun to use, everything shattered. Definitely recommend giving this a go since it can actually do something now. Great changes for the Glacier creator. Now, some honorable mentions which didn't get massive changes but still warranted a shout out. Every Actium War Rig user's favorite gun, Sweet Business, got some more fun added to it, with it periodically firing explosive rounds because why not? Not the biggest change, but hey, you Titans can cause even more chaos for everyone else, since being fully spun up procs the rounds more often. Wow, that spun up sound creates nightmares and flashbacks. Eyes of Tomorrow, G-Horn's Shadow, always had a problem with its ammo and identity. So now, proccing Adaptive Ordnance will refund a rocket to your reserves. So, infinite ammo as long as you're killing 4 or more enemies at a time. But this probably won't push it into the spotlight since, again, G-Horn. Plus other rockets and other heavies are great at most roles already. And going out of your way to get 4+ kills every rocket is a bit annoying when there aren't that many enemies around, and teammates are absolutely slaying out. So this will probably be more potent in lower man content. Still give this a try if you do enjoy Eyes of Tomorrow. Malfeasance also got a catalyst this season, granting it Vorpal weapon and a bonus 20 range, which may not sound like much, but honestly it gives it a lot of damage potential on yellow bars, champs, and even bosses. Vorpal on primary weapons is a 20% damage bonus compared to heavies with 10% and specials with 15%. And the little explosions it can do are quite potent, especially on taken enemies. I haven't started the catalyst yet, but if you're a Lucky Pants hunter, I suspect that yellow bars and champs will get deleted, as that's a lot of extra damage. Something to definitely look at if you're a fan of the gun. So, these are the exotics that I personally think have gained more traction this past week. Some more than others, obviously, but all around some good buffs and changes. I'm curious as to what you're using out of all of these, or if there's some other sleepers that have risen to power, or if nothing has piqued your interest at all. If you enjoyed your stay, dropping a like or sub would be greatly appreciated and hella sick. So yeah, do that. That's all from me. Enjoy week 2 of the season and go try out some new stuff. Later.